Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In this video, we will see how to manage user key pairs in an AWS Linux EC2 instance. When an instance is launched, you can use the default username to connect it to the EC2 instance. For example, if your instance is launched using an Amazon Linux 2 AMI, the default username is EC2 user. So you can connect it to this EC2 instance using a default username, which is EC2 user. For an Ubuntu AMI, if you have chosen Ubuntu, then the default username is Ubuntu itself. For Debian AMI, the default username is admin, and so on and so forth. Of course, we need a key pair. For example, the key pair name could be the default user. The public key will be stored in the EC2. The private key will be with the customer. Now, using the default user is sufficient for many applications. However, you may opt to create additional users to allow individuals to have their own files and workspaces. Moreover, creating separate users enhances security compared to providing multiple users access to a default user. So this is crucial as improper use of default user can potentially result in significant damage to the EC2 instance or to the system. What we can do is create a user account in EC2 named John. And generate a key pair specifically for John. I would say new user. Okay. And then copy the public key to the John account. So by following this process, we can connect to the EC2 instance using the new user John with the corresponding key pair. So in order to implement, first of all, we'll create two key pairs. Then we'll launch an EC2 instance of Amazon Linux. Of course, with the default user key pair. And connect it to this instance. We'll connect it to this instance using the default username, which is EC2 user. Now, after connecting, we will create a user named John. And copy the public key of the new user into the John's account. Subsequently, we will attempt to connect it to the EC2 instance using the John as a username. Okay, and with the corresponding key pair. So let's implement the process of sharing the key pair with a new user. As a step 1, to create a key pair, go to EC2 dashboard. And under the AWS resources, find the key pair and click on create key pair. Provide the key pair name as default user. Select .pem as extension and click create key pair. Store the private key in one of the folders in your laptop. Similarly, create another key pair named new user. .pem as extension, create it in the same folder. Now we have created two key pairs and the private keys are downloaded. Now launch an EC2 instance with default user key pair. So go to EC2 dashboard, go to instances, launch instance. Okay. So I would tag it as EC2 users management. Amazon Linux to AMI. T2 micro as instance type. Okay. And keypair as the default user. And with the remaining default options, click on launch instance. While the instance is launching, AWS assigns the public key of the default user key pair to the instance. Now let's connect to this EC2 instance. I'm using git bash to connect to an EC2 instance. So in order to connect, we run ssh-i, the PEM file, EC2 user at the public IP address of the EC2 instance. So copy the public IP address and paste it here. Type yes to confirm the connection. So now we created the key pairs. We launched the EC2 instance. We connected to the EC2 instance using the default user. Yeah. Now let's generate the public key for the new user by running the command ssh keygen -y -f and then the PEM file. Okay. Now this is the public key for this PEM file. Now let's go back to the EC2 instance and create a user named John by running the command sudo add user John. Switch to new user to have proper ownership. Sudo su -John. Okay, now I logged in as a user John here. Previously, I'm into EC2 user. Now let's create a directory. mkdir .ssh is a directory name. I'll give permissions to this directory. I'm giving read and execute permissions to this directory. Create a file in sh directory. Saying touch sh / authorized keys and also the permissions. Okay. Now copy the public key into this file. In order to do that, let's nano. Nano will open the file. It's our text editor. Now copy the public key and paste it here. Save it. Exit from John to EC2 user. Exit from the instance. Now let's connect. So I do have two PEM files, default user and new user. Previously, I connected using the default user. Now I will use new user and I will connect as a John as a username. So ssh-i, the PEM file, John at the public IP address of the instance. Paste it. You see, you connected. Now using as a John as a username. In conclusion, we can create multiple users like John and we can manage the permissions accordingly. Thank you.